Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. So today is a great news for all of us. We have conquered the HTML and CSS part of DDCDP and the JavaScript part, and now we are into PHP. And today is day one of PHP in DDCDP23. So this is inshallah going to be a huge sort of course for you, laying out foundation for your subsequent careers in web development as well as in Drupal. So what we will study today is what PHP actually is and why do we use PHP, and we will cover a lot of basics of PHP. So PHP actually is a server-side language, and server-side language means so far we have been only doing HTML and CSS and JavaScript, which is actually all client side. So PHP, like ASP.NET, Python and other server-side languages, is one of them. For example, this. So we will see now how actually PHP works and where does it fall in the whole process of accessing a website. So for the first two modules we have been actually using just the first box, which is client or browser. So your browser is actually your client. So here we have been using HTML and CSS and JavaScript. So all this is related with this first box. We didn't need any server. So whatever we have done, any processing, programming loops or whatever, that was part of the JavaScript, and browser does that for us. Now JavaScript can be used on server as well, which is known as Node.js, but for now we will just focus on JavaScript in the browser. So initially two modules in DDCDP were related with these two, this one box only. So whatever we were doing was just JavaScript or HTML and CSS, and browser actually does all the load of showing you the markup or whatever you do with the markup. But in case we need some extra processing or connectivity with databases, so we need a server, and for that purpose many server-side languages are used. So PHP is one of them. Normally we get hosting from some company, and here they have a server installed. So you put all your files into on the server, and then you access those files from the browser. But the extension is index.php. So for example, whatever is the address of the server, I will follow that with, say for example, server name.com/index.php. So if I access this in the browser, what it will do, it will check where is this server located. So it will have some IP address against it, and then this resource index.php. So actually it will access this server, for example. So here index.php is the resource URL, and there will be some PHP code in it that will be interpreted by the PHP software or interpreter on the server, and it will be converted into some HTML. Index.php will have some PHP code located here on the server, not here. This is the difference. Earlier we were just having HTML pages, JavaScript pages, which were inside the browser. They actually were need to be inside the browser. They would open. Here we need to access server for index.php. There is some code written in index.php. It will be run there, and it will be converted into HTML for us, and that HTML will be returned to the page just like normal. So you can call server as a machine which outputs HTML for you. Prior to the server, we were creating HTML ourselves. If you remember, insert adjacent HTML and all those things, JavaScript was doing that for us inside the browser. But now server will send us HTML after interpreting PHP pages. Okay, and if in case if in case there is something needed from the database, so maybe on the server there is database software installed, or there is separate database server installed, it will have its own IP then. So if index.php page has some code which is related to databases, so server will ask this database for some data, and database server will return that data to the PHP page, and PHP will again interpret it into HTML and send it to the client browser. So any page now you access, for example, this is known as a server side request. So for example, right now I need index.php, so I will send a request to the server. This is one request, and response will be HTML. If again I have to access another page, so I will request index2.php or about us.php or whatever. So each request will be an independent request to the server, and you will see the browser flashing a bit. So we will see once we have set up the PHP server. So in real world, this server is host. You might have heard of hosting where the index.php files will be, but right now we will be developing PHP application on our own computers. So what we will do is we will install PHP softwares which will have MySQL as well as PHP, and Apache is the web server. So for that there is either XAMPP on Windows or Laragon. Let me search it. So you can install XAMPP on Windows, this is the XAMPP software, or Laragon, anything like these, okay. And you can also use Docker based environments, like first Docker you will have to install, and then Lando. So I will on my MacBook install Lando. You can do the same in Windows also. So you have a lot of version options where you can install PHP on your local system, so that we can build PHP websites, okay. So let's start. I will create a folder on desktop in documents. Let me just quickly create a new folder, DDPHP. Okay, so here I will open it in new terminal. I already have Lando installed here. Lando installed as well as Docker installed. These are two softwares. You can install those on your Windows also, but I will do it in Mac at the moment. So I am now inside this folder. So what we will issue is Lando init. It will initialize a Lando file for us, and it asks me what to install. Current working directory, so I will say yes. Now it asks me what recipe do you want to use. So I will use, you can all install WordPress, Drupal, and a lot of other stuff as well, but I will go for LAMP. LAMP stands for Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. So LAMP is, if you are installing it on your Windows machines, you have to choose LAMP as well. So LAMP, and what is your, I will leave it right now like this. What do you want to call this app? So DDCDP1. I will call it DDCDP1, and that's it. So if you come to this folder, it will have actually there is a hidden file lando.yml. If I access it, I always forget how to show hidden files on Mac. So they are command plus shift plus dot. So command shift and dot. So you can see there is a hidden file .lando.yml. so it has just some entries. If I open it in Visual Studio Code, so DDCDP, the recipe is lamb and config is this. This is just bare bone stuff. The next command we need to run is inside the folder lando start. So this is the URL for our website. Okay, now we need to open this folder inside our Visual Studio Code. So you can use any editor, and we have been using Visual Studio Code, so let us use Visual Studio Code for PHP applications as well. I will open a folder, and the folder actually is DDPHP, and that's it. Okay, here I will just create one file. I'll call it index.php, and let us for now just let us quickly create a bare bone index.html and just copy the same code into index.php. That's it, but the extension is index.php. Okay, and in the title I will just say hello PHP. This is just same HTML, but the extension is .index.php, and we can now safely delete this file index.html because we don't need it. Okay, in your website URL, this one, after the one we will use /index.php. so in your title you can see hello PHP. Okay, how can we zoom the address bar? Any idea? Okay, so this is the page. Right now it has just the same HTML which we used to have in HTML pages, right? But PHP lets you mix HTML with PHP code. So at the top of the page, for example here, any PHP code starts with question mark, less than sign, question mark, PHP, and closing PHP tag like this. So inside here we will write our PHP code. So for example, to print something we write echo something, some string, hello from DDCDP, and then a semicolon. Okay, so echo, or we can also use print hello from DDCDP via print. So any line of code if you need to print, it's either echo or print, right? And it is above the doc type HTML. So if I just refresh the page, this one, hello from DDCDP, if I go to inspect, so you can see outside the HTML we will have some or if you go to the source, so you can see this output is from PHP. This is the normal HTML, but this output is from PHP, and you don't see any PHP opening closing tags, anything like that. Why? Because when we accessed index.php, the request went to the server. There that code was output, interpreted the PHP code, and it was transformed into HTML and sent back to our browser. So in your browser you won't see PHP opening, closing, or any code. The code gets interpreted into HTML. The code gets interpreted into HTML. Okay, so we can have variables defined. To define a variable, what we do is we have a dollar sign for the variable. So for example, var1 equals, or maybe we can call it title. Title is equal to hello PHP. Okay, so this is a variable. Always you will have to use dollar sign with the variables. In JavaScript we didn't have dollar sign with the variable, but here in PHP you will always have dollar sign with any variable. Okay, so now we have defined the title. Now we need to print it here. Okay, that variable has been defined at the top of the page inside the PHP block. So you can mix PHP with HTML inside your pages. So here, for example, inside the title I will open PHP tag again and close PHP tag like this. Here I need to print the title. So what I can do, echo dollar sign title, that's it. So the whatever is the variable, that is printed here. Okay, so we have the same. So that's normally this is not the best way. We will be progressing through the course, but this is just the basic. Modern techniques in PHP is that you don't mix HTML with PHP, but for learning purposes we will be doing it so that you know how to do things, and we will be improving in the subsequent lectures. But for now you can learn this fact that you can mix PHP with HTML. So when index.php is accessed, PHP knows that this is my relevant because it is inside these two opening and closing PHP tags. So this is related to PHP and this is related to PHP. So it will interpret it into HTML. Whatever it will do is and return the whole HTML into your browser. Got it? Okay. So for example, let us define a variable and we'll call it for example, this is time. Okay, so
does it know about the title, the tag? It should be h2 or p tag.
Yeah, we can that's where we are coming towards. So in JavaScript you have to be very precise, okay, but here you have to just output these tags as text, and you don't need to worry about appending as child those elements into its parents or things like this. Okay, so for example, we have time is say 10. Okay, and we want to make the title dependent upon time. So if it is less than 12, the time will be good morning. The title will be good morning. But if it is greater than 12, it will be good evening or something like this. Okay, good afternoon, sorry. So just like in JavaScript we have if statements here, if something and then something. Okay, so if time $time is greater than 12, so we will make the variable as $title is equal to good afternoon. Okay, else title is good morning, something like this. Okay, so now we have already specified time. What should be the title here? And we are already outputting title here. Any guesses? What should be the title? This is hello API right now, so it will be good morning. You can see in the address bar, in the tab, the title is good morning. Similarly, you can here, for example, you need to output it as an H tab. Okay, something like this. So again, we can mix PHP with HTML. So here it will know that this is now PHP. Sorry, yes, okay. And here print or echo, both are same. $sign title. PHP. You can install PHP based extensions in VS Code, so all the code will be then formatted properly for you. One of them is IntelliFence, I guess. IntelliFence. Yeah, so that will be easier. So this is now H1 and it is printing the title for us. So this is H1. Okay, if we change the variable to say 13, now what will be the, so what this shows is you can make your HTML output dependent upon variables. Okay, and we don't need to specify just like JavaScript to append this HTML to everything. It is just outputting of stuff. Okay, so this is one of the ways to output, but here we are even if the variable is empty, this H1 tag will be output. We can make it even dependent upon some values in PHP. So for example, PHP open and question mark PHP close. Okay, here I want to print H1. Okay, so echo, you can see all such things, echo H1 this, then echo title like this, and then echo or print. You can use what we will print here, closing H1. So this is basically the same stuff, just like this. Okay, so echo H1, echo this, and echo this. Okay, what will be the output of it? The same. And if you go to inspect, so you can see H1 good afternoon and H1. So we are outputting HTML from within PHP here. That's the difference. Okay, we are outputting HTML from PHP. Okay, there can be conditional HTML based on if statements also. So for example, let us create, and like any other language, we can have variables with number. So number is equal to say 10. This is a number variable. How to know if it is a number of boolean or whatever? So if you just run this function var underscore dump number $number, it shows int 10. Can you see? Int 10. If we create another variable and we call it $, name is equal to PHP, for example. So how to know what's the var dump of name is? So we'll just change it to name. It will be string. So it's a string of 3 characters, right? And for example, we have variable which is logged in. This is camel case naming convention. Okay, is logged in is equal to true. So what do you expect the type of is logged in? Shabas. Is logged in, so it will show it as bool, true. Okay, similarly we can have a number, for example, zakat is equal to how much is 2.5. okay, so 2.5 is the number, but with a decimal in it. They are known as floats in PHP. okay, so if we define it before it and then assign zakat, so the output of it will be float. Okay, similarly we can have addition, subtraction, just like any other programming language. So for example, sum is equal to, say we have two numbers, number plus 20. So number is 10, so the output will be 30. So we can have sums, multiplication is star, and division is this, the same just like we have in JavaScript. okay, okay, now we have this variable, just for example, is logged in is equal to true. okay, so here we want to have two separate pieces of content. If the user is logged in, do this, else do this. okay, so in applications you might have seen, if somebody is not logged in, so what you will show them? A form. But if the user is logged in, you can show the welcome message. okay, so let us do that for now. Let us assume that we have, and remember, this is one of the better programming practices, to use variables like these with true or false, and make your decisions based on those. okay, so you can have a lot of logic to log in somebody, but at the end you will be using a variable to check. So initially, and the safe way is to make it false. okay, so is logged in is false, so that nobody gets into your application, inside your application by default. So here we will create two HTML tags. okay, sorry, two HTML elements. We should have used Tailwind CSS, but for now, for this initial class, we will have a CSS free usage. So okay, so we have two H2s. One of them is welcome Mr. John. okay, another one is H2 please log in. okay, these are two H2 tags. Right now both of them are visible on the page like this, welcome Mr. John and please log in. okay, which one should show if the user is not logged in? Please log in. It can be a link or anything. okay, a form, but this one should show once the user is logged in. So let us do some if else. One of the ways, the tougher ways, is we will, again, if you want it to, so open PHP tag and close PHP tag like this. okay, one thing, you can't write HTML or just paste something inside PHP and expect it to be printed like this, because for PHP it is just a string, okay, and even still it shows some errors. So if I just refresh the page, there will be some PHP error, probably this please syntax error, pass syntax error, unexpected this on file this on line 36. So you will go to line 36 and you will say, oh, there is some problem. Okay, so what you can do is echo, and then for PHP it is string actually, so strings are always used in quotes. Single and double quotes are fine, so maybe something like
Is it necessary to use semicolon at the end?
I think it is not, but I will have to check, but I personally use it. Okay, so echo, let us try this. If we have skipped this and refresh, it is not a problem now, but it used to be probably previously. Okay, so but it's always good to, personally I will use it. Okay, this is one PHP.
I know the behind the scene things.
Mhm.
Shall I use the
Good. Okay, so this is one, we have to treat any HTML as text inside PHP opening and closing. Okay, and similarly we will wrap PHP outside of this h2 and close the PHP tags, and here we will echo, let us use single quotes here and this. Okay, so now PHP is being output in both of these elements are being output. Okay, welcome Mr. John, and please, now we need to use if condition, so that if user is logged in, use this, otherwise use this. So here we will use if $sign logged in is logged in, it means if it is true, then echo this. Okay, and we can easily even change it to else, echo this, right, and these two are now extra. So if logged in is true, we can, this is equal to this, is equal to true. But if you remember the truthy and falsy values from JavaScript, it works the same way. So if this condition is true, it will output this, otherwise it will output this. Is this fine? Let me check what it will output now. It will output please log in. Why? Because the value is false, because this value is by default false, where it is this. So if we change it to true, then what are you expecting? Welcome. Okay, writing HTML tags inside PHP is a bit tough. You will have to for example, if we have to add some class here, class is equal to something, so you use double quotes with classes, and here for example the class is bold. Okay, do you think this will be fine, or there will be some error? Error, why?
Because there are two strings, h1 and class is equal to the one string, and from welcome to h2 is another string.
Yeah, so it's very tough normally to write HTML like this inside PHP. So if I just refresh the page, you will see the error too. Parser unexpected bold, this string expecting this or whatever. So actually, as we have treated it as a string, PHP thinks this is the closing string, just like this one. So if you remember the escaping characters, you will have to use this and this. then it will parse it properly and it will be fine. Another way is to break this statement into multiple chunks, and once the statement is broken into multiple chunks, what we do is we use concatenation. And concatenation in JavaScript was plus, the sign for JavaScript was plus, but here it is dot. So this is the first part is equal to this dot this. Okay, so this is the first part. Now we need a quotation mark, and let's do this. So like this, and we have this is a starting for class. Okay, here and then dot as well, and then the closing.
Write this double quotation at the end of the code.
Class is equal to this, then it's yes. This, so this is the closing one, and even we can use this here as well. Then dot, then welcome to so this is the first part, this is the second part, and all of this is being concatenated. Okay, we could have done this in one single quotation marks as well. I probably have screwed it up, but you get the point. So you need to break something like this. Even if this is a variable, we need to break it as well to get the variable interpolated. So let us check if it is working fine. We will make the variable true. It's working fine, but for example, we need this Mr. John as a variable. This Mr. John is a variable in this string. So what we can do is we will create a variable here, and name is equal to $name, or we already have one, name is equal to Mr. Tony. Okay, so whatever is the name, we need to print it here instead of this. Okay, so what we can do is, if I use $name like this, do you think it will be?
No, sir. We need a dot.
Okay, so let's just refresh it. So it will not be interpolated because string, it is being used inside the string. So what we can do is we can make it into a dot as well. Make the chunk as this dot this and dot this. Now we have left alone the variable. It will be interpolated, and so let us check Mr. Tony. Okay, now this is coming from the variable. So you need to use concatenation in order to break multiple strings into, or then you have to use variables. Okay, so this way of doing it is a bit tough. Okay, there is another way of outputting HTML, and let us do that too. Here PHP is being made to output HTML. We will open another tag PHP and closing tag like this. Okay, I will use if something. So if $sign is logged in. Okay, if is logged in, and then there will be this colon. Okay, another PHP statement we need, opening and closing like this. So if a condition is starting somewhere, if is starting here, so we will close it here, and if like this. So whatever is between these two, so you can use normal HTML, not something like concatenation or strings inside the PHP. This is the difference. Okay, if you use something like this, if this colon, and then close the PHP tag, and here you close the end f. So whatever you use, for example, this is now normal HTML, not output from PHP. So for example, h4, this is coming from the two blocks. Okay, now this is normal HTML. You can use any classes just like normal. Class is equal to bold, no concatenation you need, because you are closing HTML here, PHP here, and restarting here. So inside it is just like this if we are using if and then outputting it via PHP. So there you need to be in accordance with PHP syntax for strings like concatenation and all, using quotes, but here you don't need that. Got it?
Yes.
So if is logged in, it will be outputting h4. So this is being output now. If I just need to make it not logged in, what it will mean? If the user is not logged in, then it will be showing. So right now I just use it to not. So do you think it will be showing? No, because the variable is true. Now it is not showing. Do you get the difference between the two syntax? Do you get the, because this is the first one, we are using everything inside this opening and closing PHP, and if and else is being used. So that's why we are outputting HTML directly from PHP. But here we are just letting the PHP server know, interpreter know, that we have started the if condition and then close the PHP tag, and here we are ending the if condition, and inside it we can use normal PHP. Okay, here I want to use the and welcome Mr. whatever $name, and welcome $name. Now I need to interpret this name variable again. So what I will do, I mean, this is very fine for me. I can use any HTML inside these if open and if, but now I need to interpret this variable.
Using the curly braces.
Again, PHP.
Yeah, so if you want this piece of text also to be interpreted by the PHP interpreter, you will use the PHP tag like this, $, closing, and we will echo it this. So just get the difference. Here we have had to use the concatenation to get the variable interpreted. Here we are just using another PHP tag and just echoing it normally. So if I just refresh it, it says welcome Mr. Tony. Got it?
Yes.
Any confusion?
No.
So this is what we call mixing HTML and CSS in PHP. Okay. Now let us come to loops. So why do we use loops? To repeat something, for repetitions. Okay, so just like JavaScript, you have for loops, while loops, do while loops and all. Okay, so for something starts with I is equal to 0. Again you need to specify $sign with the variable name. Okay, I is less than 100 and $sign I plus plus. So I starts with 0, I is less than 100 and I plus plus, and here I need to do something. Okay, so what you need to do here, or maybe let us do it not here, but create a new tag after, before the closing body tag here, PHP tag. Okay, here for I need to print or echo. So echo $sign, let us print some paragraph tags. Okay, P and P closing. This is paragraph, and we will make it, this is paragraph number 1 and 2 and 3 and so on. Okay, but I want to make this one dynamic, so what I will do, and we are inside the PHP tag, this variable I need to use. Okay, I need to use this variable. Let us make it even one. So I need to use this variable. I will use $sign I and break it into pieces like this. Is this fine now?
Yes.
So what is this? It is creating paragraph tags for us from 1 to 100 or maybe 99. So if I refresh the page, this is paragraph 1, 2, 3 up to 99. Okay, the difference between PHP and JavaScript is, what would you do in JavaScript if you had to create these 99 paragraphs? Probably something like this, but then you would have to attach it to the body element or something like that. Here you don't need to do that, because server will send you the prepared HTML. Got it? So for example, I need to give it an ID also, because ID or class or whatever. So ID is equal to HTML ID, I mean para 1 or 2 or 3. So again I need to make it dynamic so that we have IDs based on this. So again, what can we do? We will do concatenation. This dot and this, and here we will use this dot, and this will be the $sign I, like this dot, and this one is going to be the escaped one. Hopefully it is fine now. So if I check it now, para, what are you expecting? If I refresh the page and check, inspect it, so each one will have its own ID. You can see it is para 85, para 86, para 87. Got it? So HTML is being output for you by PHP. You don't have to go through all the hassle of doing it for yourself in via JavaScript. Okay, so again this was inside the PHP block. This HTML output was inside the PHP block. The other way is we will again create another one, another PHP tag, and here we will start for. Okay, so something like this, the same for this, and we will end up it with this. Simple. We can use it in one line also. Is this fine? So the first line is this, the second one will be another PHP tag like this, and here we will use and for. Well done. And for. Okay, now whatever we write inside it, we can write any HTML tag, normal HTML, not the concatenation stuff or interpolation stuff. So for example, I can write anything like def class is equal to this, and then HTML h2 is equal to this is this. So what do you expect now? How many times have this to be there in the page? 100 times. If I refresh it, so you can see this is all, this is coming from that loop. So whatever is inside it as normal HTML, that will be printed for us. So again, if we need to make it dynamic based on, if I make class dot this, so here I need to print I. What I will do?
Another PHP.
Good, very well done. Simple PHP question mark and this, and here I will just print or echo $sign I. So now you should expect class written, this will have this one, this two, this three as classes. And similarly here, if I need to print something, so I will just copy this for now, and this is space this. Okay, okay, good. So if I just refresh the page, the change you will feel is the number is written with every one of it, and if I just inspect it, this is, even the class is dynamic class is. Okay, got it? Now let us create another page, because this is now quite a lengthy one, and we will create another page and we will call it. So for loop is very much used. Then we let us create arrays first, and then we will use for each loop. So new file, and we'll make it arrays.php, and let us copy the basic HTML from here. Okay, let us make it normal arrays as the title. Okay, so at the top of the page we can create variables like the previous one. So I will open the PHP tag and close it like this. So for example, let me create an array. There are two types of mainly two types of arrays in PHP. One is associative array and another one is numeric array. So for example, let us create names is equal to, there are two syntaxes. Array like this, it's a function, so you pass it parameters. values like arguments actually. So for example, Khan, Shah, Niazi, and so on. So now this array has how many elements?
1, 2, 3.
3. Another way is we can do the same as name is equal to, just like JavaScript, Khan, Shah, and Niazi. Sorry. Yeah. So both of these are the same. The square brackets and then the 3 values, and here you are using the array function. So the second one is mostly used these days. So we will just comment this one out. So now how many elements are there in the array? 3. And this is known as numeric array. Why numeric array? Because the indexes are numeric based, number based. Okay. So for example, if I just output this thing 1, what it will be outputting? If I just print echo name 1, Shah, because arrays always start with 0. So this is 0 Khan and 1 is Shah. So if I just refresh it, and it is array.php. So what's the name of the file? Arrays.php. Arrays. So Shah is being output for us, right? So this is numeric based, because if you add something just like this, the indexes are numeric, means numbered. But if we, for example, create another variable student underscore marks is equal to an array like this, okay, so you can bring the, for coding purposes, for formatting, you can move it down, the closing square bracket. So here we will make it, for example, Khan has marks of 100, Shah has marks of 200, and Niazi has 300, something like this. The last one doesn't need a. So how will I output Niazi's marks? Any guesses? So now the indexes are not numbered. This is associate. This is known as associative array. Associative array in PHP. It's the same array, but the indexes are starting with strings, not numbers. So if I have to access this 300 value, what I will do? We will do echo student underscore marks. Here in PHP we don't use dot, so we will use Niazi like this. Niazi. You need you use quotes with the key. So student underscore marks Niazi. So what will be the output? 300. Okay. So the difference between numeric array and, we will call it numeric array, and associative array is that associative array has its indexes as strings or text, and the numeric array has its indexes as and it has indexes as strings, and it has indexes as numbers. These are the values. Don't get the values confused with indexes. Okay. Okay, is this clear?
It look like an object.
Yeah, kind of. Some languages has it as dictionaries or something like that, but the difference is in objects you can have methods, functions, but in arrays there are no functions actually, just the values or nested arrays. Okay, now I need to print all the values of student marks, or maybe for now just the names in an unordered list, ULs and LIs. So what we can do, I will come to the body tag here. I'll print UL like this. So you should know that UL opening and closing. Okay, so we have created this array name. It has 3 elements: Khan, Shah and Niazi. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to display it in these values in UL and LIs. So we already have created in the body, we have created UL and ULs, and now whenever there is repetition you must know that we need to have loop in programming. So normally you have ULs and then we need to have some LIs here, but these LIs are dependent upon the values of the array. So we have to loop through these values. So for example, here we will open a PHP tag and close it. So let us do it the 2 ways. So here we need to have the loop. So for each is one of the loops. It is used for outputting arrays. So we can do it with for loop also, but for each is the easier one. So for each we already have a variable name, which is, rather let us make it names. Okay, so for each names, the name of the array as name. So each time the loop will have a value of name. Okay, in each iteration that variable will be stored in this variable, that value will be stored in this variable, and then the opening and closing brackets like this. So for each names as name. So what does this mean? First time it will be Khan, then Shah and then Niazi. Okay, so for each, every time we need to output something, and that output means li tags. So it will be echo or print opening li, then dot, then name, and then dot, and then closing li, and then end with semicolon. Got it? So we are actually outputting li's, and we are using concatenation in between so that this variable is evaluated, and we are using for each, the name of the array, and then the as. This means the first the value of each iteration. So let us check it now. So these are output as UL analyze. This is fine. So what if I need to output 2 more values? How can I add 2 more LIs? Any idea?
Insert the values inside the array.
Good, because this output is dependent upon the values in the array. So we can just add other names. Got it? Now if I just refresh it, why do I need to refresh this page? Because I need to make another request to the server. This arrays.php is on the server, so I need to access or hit the server for this very path. So once that is accessed, PHP is run on the server and it outputs HTML and sends that request back to the browser. So now we have two more. In real world, you will have mostly this coming from database. So while you are outputting, it will be just an array like this, and then you will have to loop through. Okay, so this is we are outputting allies and allies inside PHP. Okay, what's the second method? We can do it like this as well. So for each other, we need to have it outside of UL here. So question mark PHP is another PHP block. Here we need to have the start of for each. So for each $sign names as name, and we will close it with this. Okay, and then so that you don't forget, so closing PHP tag for and for each, like this. Okay, now you can write your PHP all the logic here, the UL and allies. One thing, UL should be outside of it. So UL, because we are looping through the allies, not UL. This. Okay, one thing, whatever you write inside this, it will be repeated as per this array. Okay, so it can be any markup, HTML markup or anything, but we want to repeat allies, so it will be li, and if I just do this, it will be repeating just the value, but we want to make this dynamic as well. So what it will be, this name. So again, do you think this will work? Name?
No, sir.
Why?
The PHP.
Because it is HTML. So here we need to have another PHP. Okay, for there is a shortcut for echo, which is equal sign, like this, I think, and the value of the variable. No, it's not equal, something else.
Remove one greater than sign before a line closing.
Okay, let us leave this for now. PHP echo name. Let us quickly, because I am forgetting it, shortcut for PHP echo. Question mark equal this. I think it needs some setting, so maybe okay, it's just this. Question mark equals, sorry, there is no PHP with it, so this is exactly equal to echo name. If you refresh it, so we have another set of, and this is coming from the second code, this one. Okay, there are two things in loops, you may need them at times. For example, these are 5 names and I want to skip this Vakar name. Okay, I want to skip Vakar from this array while I am printing. So one of the ways is I will delete this Vakar, but that's not the way. I want it to be in the page, in the array, but when it is Vakar, it should not print it. So how can we do it?
It's a condition.
Yes, there has to be some condition, but what the condition can be? If name
is equal to Waqar.
good.
Yes, sir.
So for example here, or maybe let us do it here first. So if name is equal to Waqar, like this, okay. So do nothing, for example, else
Else equals
do this. Okay, let us try if it works. So now it is not outputting it, but this is not I mean a better way of doing it. We have an empty if statement and then an else. Okay, so there has to be some better way of doing this thing.
Sir, it should be if not.
So what we can do is, there is something.
So name not equals to Waqar. Then print the AI statement.
Yeah, that's one of the ways, but we have a better way, and let us undo all this code. So by default it is echoing all the values. Okay, let us refresh to see, like this. Okay, but if the name is equal to Waqar, then I want to skip this iteration, to skip altogether this iteration.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just don't want to process this iteration. So for example, we will use if $name equals Waqar. Okay, like this. So what I should do, I will just continue. A keyword known as continue. If name is equal to Waqar, continue. For example, if I is 2 at the moment and name is equal to Waqar, the value is Waqar. So what it will do, it will not run that iteration, it will skip to 2. I will become 2. It will never process that iteration. So continue means jump to the next iteration. Got it?
Yes, sir.
So for example, first time the loop is 0, then 1, then 2, and if the value is Waqar, so it will quickly go to the next iteration. Now let us check if it is working, and it has the same effect. Got it? There is another one also, which is, for example, if I encounter Waqar, then don't run the whole loop, just stop. This one is for continuation,
Yes, sir.
to skip to the next record and do nothing with this one. But for example, you are searching something and you have got a value, that's it. Don't loop through the rest of, because you need to preserve performance. So here, if for example I want to loop through all the values, but once it is Waqar, then just stop the loop. So for that we will use break. Break means don't go further in the loop. So
It is the part of switch statement. Like
yeah, it is in switch, but we can use it in normal loops also to break a loop out of loop. So now you can see once it realized that the value is Waqar, so it just broke the loop. It didn't further process it. Got it? So for example, let us add some extra values, some more values, maybe some random stuff. Like this, okay, and Waqar is at the maybe second position. You can make it 2. Okay, so what do you think, how many values will be output here with the code we have written?
one.
Why? Because we are using break here. So as soon as it realizes it is Waqar, it breaks. But if we change, let us refresh the page. So here it will just output one value. But if we want to continue the loop, but we want to skip var value, so for that purpose we will change the break to continue. Like this. So now var has been skipped, but all the other values have been printed. Okay, so for each, let us recap what for each does. For each takes an array as and then value. The second value means each iteration's value. But if I need index also, index you now know, for example this is 0 1 2 3 4, I need to print index also with the value. In that case, in for each you can use another value which is, say whatever you can call it, I or index or something, but with a fat arrow like this. Okay, so now if you use it like this, it means this variable will be index and the second one will be the value. So here, for example, I need to have some this to print this index also. So here I will add index and dot, and it looks good, and it is one of the better programming practices if you give some space between the concatenation operator. Okay, so index this and this. Now it doesn't have any space, so let us add some space also, another dot like this. Okay, so or maybe dash. Okay, so index dash name. Let us try if it works. So it is 0 2 1 3 4 whatever. Why is 1 not there? Because we have skipped var, and var is, if we just comment out this, so var again will be printed. Got it?
Yes.
Similarly, we can output associative arrays. So what associative arrays are? Those arrays, the indexes are strings, in which indexes are strings. So if I want to print out all the marks but of with the names also, so what I can do is, for each, let us create another one, ul, and then allies, then PHP tag, okay. So whichever method you like, you can do it. Let us do it this way first. So for each, name of the array is student underscore marks, student underscore marks as, for example, marks, and then opening closing. So for each student marks as marks, print li, we can use print also. Okay, print and echo are almost the same. So print li dot marks dot closing li, like this, and then the semicolon. Okay, hopefully it will be printing all the marks, 100 200 and 300, but I need to have names also, so that I can know which values are there, whose students values are marks are these. So what we can do is, as I said, just like this, this is index and then the fat arrow and then the value. So here we can name it as, you can name it anything, but we can call it student name and then fat arrow, this. So the first value will be the index value and the second one will be marks. So here we can have one more concatenation, and that will be student name. Maybe if you need to give some space or some dashes, so that we can also have. So now if you refresh, we have the student names also. So if you need, in for each loops, if you need the index also, then you need to use this syntax, otherwise just one is fine. Is this fine? Okay. Next we need to study some functions. So what functions are? From JavaScript you know now what functions are.
Did you use the code?
Yes.
Did you use
There are a lot of advantages of functions. So
performance and specific
for repetitive tasks or to perform something,
tasks?
code organization, a lot of such things can be done via functions. So let us create a function, and in PHP also function is created like this: function and then the name of the function. So for example, addition, and whatever is being passed to the function, it is known as parameters. So for example, $a and $b, these are two functions, and I want to add them. Okay, so what we can do is a plus $b, like this. But this function needs to be run so that we can see the output. Okay, so function addition a plus b, but we can't see what the output is. So for example, if I just echo a plus b, it means this function will output the addition of whatever is passed to it. So this is known as function definition. Now you need to run the function. So I'll just run it, and running is addition, and we will pass it to 4 and 5, maybe 6. Okay, so what will be the output of it? 10. Where the location of this 10 will be at the top of the page, because we are doing it above HTML. So maybe this is that 10. Let us stop outputting other things, these, and we have another one as well, this. Okay, so the output is 10. That's it. Okay, so function has parameters. These are known as parameters. Okay, whatever is passed into the function while it is being defined, these are known as parameters. And when actually the function is being called, then you pass them arguments. Okay, so these are the actual values, and these are the you can say construction, the sample values. So this means this function will have two values passed to it, and you can process those, and then once the function is being called, those two values are the actual ones. Okay, now for example, I need to have a function which outputs an array in an li. What? I need to create a function which outputs, because this was all same code, this is, we accept we just loop through array and output li's, uln li's. So why not to create a function? So one of the ways of creating a function is, for example, you should think this way: output uls for me. This is a function, for example. the output, when you are running a function, it should be something like this. So output ULs for me. So what do you expect the input will be? Some array, just some array, for example, like this. Okay, so once this is run, it will output ULs for you. This, you should think like this while creating functions. This is the name of the functions, and it has some parameter. Once you pass that parameter to it, the output will be some HTML code. So let us create that function first. The output ULs for me. So the way it is defined is, Shabas, it should be inside the PHP tags here. So function this, and what should it be passed? Some array, like this. Okay, so function output ULs for me, some array. So now you need to do all the processing inside it here in the function. So this some array is some function. Okay, so let us copy some code, maybe this code. So inside the function we are using for loop now. This is that sum array. So now it should not be student marks, it should be sum array. So whatever function, whatever array gets passed to this function, it will loop through it. And if it has, maybe we can call it A and B now, A and B. So A is the index and B is the value. Okay, so here it will be A and B. That's it. Now we have created a function which outputs, and we can say with index. With index means because we are outputting the index also. So this function is ready. Now we need to call this function. Okay, so to call this function we can use it anywhere, maybe at the bottom of the page like this. One thing I just forgot, because we are outputting just the, where is the function, we are just outputting li's. So before the for each we need to output what? UL. Well done. We need to output UL also as the start, and after the loop has finished, because we are looping through li's only, if you loop through UL, it will output the UL also, UL tag. We don't want that. We want ULs just once and the li's more than once. So then echo closing ULs like this. Okay, so now I need to have, say this, let us create another function, array quickly. Just copy paste this one, and we will call it cities population, cities underscore population. So Peshawar, for example, 20 million, Karachi 200 million, Delhi 300 million. So now I want to output this cities population array using this function. So what should I do? Just copy the name of the function, and at the bottom of the page you will, what you will do, first you will have to open PHP tag, because so that the code is interpreted. And here we will just call the function like this, and we already have defined the cities array, so we'll just pass it cities population. So if all things have been done correctly, we will be seeing a UL with the population and name. I'm not sure how is it being output, but okay, so this is, let us comment that where was it being output. 10 this. Okay, so these values, the last one Peshawar 20, this is coming from the function. Okay, so each time now if you need to output an array with indexes, you can use this function. For example, if I need to do it again for student marks, this one, so what I can do is just call this function again, but another time with student underscore marks. So just with 2 lines you are sort of reusing that code. Okay, is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there is one more thing. Let us try that. I will create another file and name it maybe functions.php. Okay, if for example I have a variable, and let us study scope also. So scope is a bit different in PHP than JavaScript, just a bit different. Okay, so we are in functions.php right now, and there is, by the way, one rule. If a page has just PHP in it and no HTML, if a page has just PHP in it and no HTML, so you don't need to have the last closing tag. That is not important then. Okay, just like this, because I just don't want to write any HTML here for now. I just want to just run PHP code. So if there is such a page, which in these other pages you can see we have mixed HTML and PHP, and in arrays.php also. But if there is some page which is just PHP, so you can skip the last closing. Okay, so here for example I have a variable number is equal to 10, and I create a function any function display number and echo number, right, and print, sorry, this is a function. Okay, so now I need to run function. So what I will do, display number function. What will be the output of this function? Echo number is being, this number which is outside the function is being echoed here in the function, and we are running the function. So what should be the output of it? It's in the global scope, so okay, so let us try it. In JavaScript it will be 10 functions.php, but PHP throws an error, or notice undefined variable number. So if something is outside of a function in the global scope, PHP doesn't see it, just like JavaScript sees it.
Yes.
It is not visible to PHP. So that's a difference. Got it? So it means this variable which is inside the PHP function is not visible. I mean, it doesn't know where this variable is coming. So one of the ways is you can pass it any n or whatever. It means this variable will be passed, and then you can just output it. Simple. So here we will pass what? This number. Now it will be 10. Now it is 10. So if you have to access a variable outside the function in the global scope, you can pass it into the function. One of the ways is this, but another way is we will change it to number again. So we will, inside the function, we will let the function know that global is the number. Number is what? Global. This variable which I am going to output via echo is a global variable. So then it should peep through the window of this function, and now it will be displaying it as 10 also. Got it? Any confusion? Okay. Now if I, for example, change the value of global is the number, and I change number is equal to 15 and echo number. So now what will be the output?
15.
Is 15. Okay. So we have outputted the number from the function, but after the function, if I echo this variable again, let me try how it is done. Number, echo number. So the number got changed. Inside the function. So if we echo it outside the function, which value it will have?
Yes, sir. The function.
Because it got changed here, so
Yes, sir.
this value. Okay.
We have to see.
Like this. Okay, let us do another thing. Now let us create an array. By the way, how can you add elements to array in PHP? In JavaScript it was push,
Yes.
and we have in PHP we have array underscore push function also, but there is an easier way too, and that is, for example, I create an array. Let it be numbers is equal to 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 15. Okay, like this. Now I want to add 3 more numbers to it after the array already has been created. So how can I do it? Numbers and like this, 2 brackets, square brackets is equal to some value, for example 21. Numbers, square brackets, 31. Now how many values will be there in the array? Any idea? 3, 6 and 2, 8. Okay, so for that we can output echo. There is a function called count. So count lets you output the value of the number of values in an array. So it will be now 3 and 3, 6 and 2 these. So 8 will be the number of values. So this is the first one is 8. If you add BRs with these values, so dot BR, it actually is for break, so you can know. There is another one also. Where is this? Okay.
before the function.
So the count of the values now is 8. So how can you add extra elements to an array? Via these square brackets. So for example, I want to add 100 more elements into this array. How can I do it? Yeah, through loop, but how? So for example, the name of the array is this. So in loop, what we will do is for I is equal to 0, $I is less than 100, and I plus plus. Okay, so I want to add values which are divisible by 5 in the loop only to the array. So how can I do it? We can use if statement. Okay, so if, do you remember the modulus operator? So if condition and $I modulus 5 equal to 0, it means it will be running for 5, 10, 15. So it will only be adding those values to the array. So if it is divisible by 5, only then add that I to it. So numbers, this is equal to .I. And in JavaScript, what you will do is numbers dot push and then the value. But here you can directly use these two square brackets is equal to and then the value. Okay. So this numbers will now be getting populated. Okay. So if we run count function again, on line 11 there is some error. On line 11 for so now the values are 28. In array we have 28 values. How can we quickly output this? Now it is array, so the numbers actually numbers is an array, so you can't echo directly an array. You can use functions like print underscore r is a function to output arrays. Okay, so print underscore r numbers, and if we refresh the page, so you can see this is an array and this is in very strange sort of format. To make it understandable, what we can do is echo pre is an HTML tag, okay, and echo pre closing like this, and inside it will be print underscore r the array. So we can check what are the values of this is built-in function. You can't, for demo or debugging purposes, you use print underscore r. You don't use it in your code actually. So you can see these divisible by 5 values have been added to the array. Got it?
Yes.
Okay. There is one improvement which we can bring in this function. Anybody? For example, it starts with 0. It will run the whole loop. Then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, and then 6, whatever. Then 5. So we are only adding those numbers which are divisible by 5 to the array, but we are iterating unnecessarily when it is 1, 2, 3, 4 even. So we today studied two things. So which one will be better using here? Yes, continue. So for example, we will change this, we will move it outside the if condition. The value which is being added to the, maybe this is 1000 line code. So if you are not using continue, for example, you are running those 1000 line code unnecessarily again and again and again and again. Okay, and if you don't have a good server, maybe there is performance problem also then. So if I is divisible by 5 is equal to means this is something divisible by 5, and if we don't is equal to 0, so we use continue. But when we have to reverse this condition, if I is equal to, so we can use this. Will it work? So it means if it is not divisible by 5, if the I is not divisible by 5, it will not run at all that iteration. It will move to the next one until it is divisible by 5, so then it will come here. It will only reach here once this is divisible by 5. Let us check if it is working. So it's working fine now. Now it has a performance improvement. Got it? Okay, so this was just a demo of how you can add values to an array which is already there. Normally what we do is we create an empty array and we add values to it for some reasons. We will check it in errors also. In form validation you will check it. You will see. So for example, if I make this array just empty one and remove these values also, now the array is, the numbers array is empty, but via loops I am populating it. Got it? And now these values have been added by the loop. Got it? Okay, so the next thing is we have now how many values? We have up to 19 indexes and 95 is the last value. Okay, so for example, we create a new function and we want to change this numbers just like we change the the variable numbers inside a function. So let us create a new function change array. So if I'm passing some changing an array, so let us, this a will be an array actually. So what I will do is I will add one value to the array, $a. So adding one value is maybe this, added from function. Okay, so function change array a, and that array will have one more value. So whatever we pass, now we need to run this function change array, and what's the array? We have numbers here. Okay, numbers. So what will be the output of we have added one extra element to the array in this function, and if I print underscore r, where is print underscore r code? This one. If I redo this here, so what are we expecting? Yeah, so we have these values already, so it will have 20 and another value, right? But there is no value here. Why? We have changed it. We have changed it here. We have passed it a.
You are not yet declared that it is a global.
Something related with that. So one way may be that, let us try global a, but in that case we will not be passing it a parameter. So let us not do it this way. Let us try one more thing. Maybe Where is ampersand? This. Okay, this whole thing was for this ampersand thing. Okay, so objects and arrays in PHP are passed by values, not by reference. So maybe we studied this thing in JavaScript also something, but if you just use this ampersand sign, it means this will be the original variable which we will pass, not a copy of it. And if you don't and this is only for arrays and objects, okay, because you just checked the number was getting changed in just a simple string or number that was getting changed. But if it is an array or object, so you need to, if you want that value, the original value to get changed, you need to pass it by reference, and then it will be changed, otherwise not. So if you see something like this in, and we will see it a lot in your PHP careers, so it means they want to change the original value. If in case they want to change something, and if you want to preserve the original value but use the original value, then you can just pass it as this. So no change will take place to that array if you don't have if you haven't used this ampersand sign. You can Google it yourself also. It is known as passing by reference versus passing by value in PHP, because we are in this function we are letting PHP know that we will have a value which is an array actually, and we are adding new value to the array, and we are running the function here. But if we are not using ampersand, so PHP will be changing maybe the value here, but the original value will not be changed. So if you want to make this value the variable changed, what you need to do is
the ampersand sign will mutate the original array.
exactly, that's a very good word you have used. Okay, so throughout the course we will be, if we need other functions, there are a lot of array functions in PHP and string functions, built-in functions. They are called built-in functions. For example, array functions in PHP. So you can see there are a lot of them. So if we need them, we will be using them. Just to save time, you just need to go to documentation and use these. For example, let us do some array underscore keys. So this is an array, and print array print underscore r array underscore keys a. Let us do this. For example, in our arrays.php, I just want the names of this city population, just the city's name, not so what we will do, we will use array underscore keys, and even in documentation you will get this array mixed filter whatever. So we will pass it cities underscore population. So what it will give you, it will return you another array actually, but with the names of the these names indexes only. So let us print underscore r this directly. Print underscore r is for debugging purposes only. And if we go to arrays.php, so Peshawar, Karachi and Delhi, just we are now getting the names. So we will be studying them whenever we need some of these functions. We don't need to have, because you yourself can go through all these. Okay, one is array underscore sum. For example, if you need to add all the values of Sum is somewhere. Okay, count we already have. If you need to get the values, the number of values in an array, so you should pass it. Use the count function, and
Sum is there. After splice, there is some.
yes, this is the sum, array underscore sum. So it adds all the values of the array and outputs it. Okay, for example, this array this and array underscore sum this. So if you echo it, the sum of this will be output. It's all very easy, you just need to check. One loop we need to study, and that is PHP if else PHP, the one with case and breaks. What's the name of it? Switch. PHP switch. So if you have a lot of if and else in your code, what you can do is just this switch cases, and we will just quickly copy it. So for example, if I come back to the functions.php, and here switch, it means switch some value. Okay, so for example, I have a variable marks is equal to, right now they are 45. Okay, marks are 45. So switch something. This is the statement. If you have a lot of if else, so it's better to put them in switch statement. So switch marks, it means it will check marks. Okay, now switch is marks. Case this. So if marks are, for example, 45. Okay, some code echo you have failed, for example, or maybe you have taken C grade. Break means don't go any further. If marks are 55, so you can echo you have taken B grade. And break means don't go any further. If marks are 75, so you can say you have taken A grade. And if by default, so if in case none of them match, so we will say maybe let us fail him for now. Echo you have failed. Okay, so now what should be the output?
You have taken C grade.
Let us try if it is all okay. You have taken C grade. So it is better, easier to read than if and else. If there are more than, normally if and else is enough. Okay, okay, now let us start using includes in our code. Okay, what includes are, or require, whatever. So for example,
It is like import export.
yes, kind of in JavaScript. Where had we created that function of output for me with index this? Okay, and I want to output some array here also in functions.php. In functions.php we have this numbers array, and I want to output this function, use this function. Okay, in functions.php. So at the bottom of the page, if I run this function inside PHP, okay, we are already inside PHP. So inside if I pass it numbers, do you think it will run?
Yes.
Why?
We have to include it first.
That's you have okay, uncaught error call to undefined function. This it means this function is not defined in this file. The file name is functions.
Yes.
Right now we are inside the functions.php, and the function has been defined in arrays.php. So what normally people do is they write all their functions in a single file, for example. That's what frameworks are. So let us create a framework.php page. What? Framework.php. And you can move all your functions to that page. So it has been defined in arrays.php. This definition, if I just copy it or cut it and move it to framework.php, and I will just, so you can have 10-20 functions, useful functions in this file.
Yes.
Okay, now I need this function inside functions.php. So what I will do, I will at the top of the page we can use require and name of the file. So it's functions.php. Okay, now this framework.php. Now whatever is inside the framework.php will be included inside functions.php.
Yes, sir.
So let us try now if that error goes. So we have outputted the numbers why that function is now working,
Yes,
because
exactly.
function was written somewhere else, and you can reuse. This is known as reusability of code. You can reuse your code this way,
Yes.
functions. And now we have removed it from arrays.php, so we will just add that require framework.php there also. Okay, simple, because now framework, the function has been moved to its own file. And we are there is similarly we can use include in PHP also. Include vs require. This is one of the questions in PHP. Okay, so the require function will stop the execution of the script when an error occurs. The include function does not give a fatal error. So that's the difference actually. So for example, in functions.php, if I make it include, so it will work. Where is functions.php? This is working. Okay, but say for example I have some spelling mistake in the error and I made it frameworks.php. Include frameworks.php, not framework. So let us try. It is running the page, but if I had used require, so what are you expecting now?
It will not run.
So it will throw a fatal error. So you can use both. If you are 100% sure that you have the file, so you can use include also. But if you want your page to be run even if the file is missing for some reasons, then you can use include, otherwise require is fine.
Yes.
Okay, so that's all for today. From tomorrow we will start using databases in PHP.